Welcome to Saying Yes Again,
a podcast about second chances, real love, and opening your heart after heartbreak.
We're your hosts, Dr. Lisa
and Tony,
a midlife couple who found love after divorce. And now we're here to share our story.
And to remind you that it's never too late to say yes again.
So put on your headphones and listen closely, because your next yes could be the one that changes everything. Welcome. This is our first episode, honey. So we made it.
Yes. Finally.
From idea to conception to here we are. I'm Dr. Lisa.
And I'm Tony.
And we are the hosts of the Saying Yes Again podcast. So we're excited to bring you our new baby, our new podcast. And we're going to be talking about all things love, life, and second chances.
Yes.
So we were thinking, right, of ways that we could share our story with our audience.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to do this podcast because most people who see us, they want to know all the tea. They want to know the why, the how, everything in between. They want to know about our love story. How did we find each other during midlife after divorce? And people really, I think, want to identify with our story because they may find themselves in the same predicament.
She found me. Just to set the record straight, she found me.
Okay, we're going to tell the real story behind that. I don't know about all that, but okay. But I'm glad I found you, honey.
I am too.
Okay, so I get a lot of questions, and I'm sure you do too. Like, girl, where did you meet him?
Yes. I had a gentleman call me from New Jersey. Tone, how did you meet her? You know what I mean?
They want to know, how long did you date? Like, how is it different now that you're in your 50s dating again, right?
Yes.
And I didn't even know how to date again. Ladies, I have to be honest with you. I mean, being 50 and after being married for so long, I had no idea how to date again. What about you, honey? Did you find it a little bit awkward?
It was definitely awkward. I was out of sync. I mean, oh man, I had like put my dating skills on the shelf or whatever. And wow, it was really awkward. It was really awkward.
So we're going to talk about all that in the podcast. Okay. How to date again, how to get out of your shell, how to start thinking outside your comfort zone. How do you heal in between, maybe after going through a breakup or a divorce? So we're going to share a lot of those things. And in future episodes, we're also going to bring in some professionals as well, because we think it's important, right, for people to really get some good advice, some good information from professionals around healing after divorce, around dating, relationships, all those. And we just want to have a disclaimer here that although I am a medical professional, I'm not a mental health professional. I will not be giving out advice, and we're not therapists and we're not marriage counselors. So that's why we are going to have those professionals on, later on in our show.
Yeah.
So, because we really don't want to share the story about the divorce as much as we want to share the story about the journey. Wouldn't you agree?
Correct. Definitely. We don't want to dwell on that.
Yeah, because the divorce is real, and the people are, who have gone through it know that it's a very trying, hurtful, painful process. So we don't want to relive that, but we really do want to help people to kind of move through it and give them hope.
Yes. Because I remember when I was going through the process, I needed some help.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I needed some professional help, some, help from friends, whatever. So
yeah. So we want to make sure that you guys understand that too. So we want to share our journey. We want to share the process. And we also know that, again, divorce is real. 40 to 50% of marriages first time around end up in divorce. And for Black couples, that rate is the highest of all ethnic groups. So we do have some work to do, right, around relationships. And also the divorce rate for second marriages is even higher. So with us being in our second marriage, we want to make sure that it lasts, and we want to make sure that we give people the tools that we can to be able to also succeed.
Make it last forever.
Make it last forever. Yes. So another thing that I found when I was doing some research is that a significant percentage of individuals who do experience divorce in midlife, not earlier, but in midlife, particularly after the age of 50, choose to remain single. And approximately 62% of men and 77% of women in this age group stay single following divorce. So that was interesting to me that most people, in midlife choose to remain single.
Yeah, kind of giving up on the process. And I can honestly say, I kind of felt that way as well. But then I just kind of had an eye-opening moment, and I'm so glad that I revisited because I found you. Ooh
Oh,
la
that's it.
la.
He's so crazy. But yes, but I'm also happy that I revisited as well. And I think as you're going through that process, when you're in the state of being single, you have to make a decision. For some people, it may be to remain single. For some people, it may be to, find a partner and not get married. And then for others, it may be that, they choose to take that step and to get married. But we want to talk a little bit about maybe why people kind of feel a little stuck in the middle, right? Why they choose to stay single. So let's talk about dating a little bit because I think that's where sometimes people get frustrated and they get stuck and they don't want to move past it because of all the riffraff,
Yeah,
all the stuff that happens, all the
yeah,
stuff that happens. So most people really just don't know, I think, how to date after midlife or after a divorce. So they stay single just out of fear of, not wanting to kind of go through that process, maybe not wanting to get hurt again.
yeah. You kind of get settled, at the point, we are that sweet spot over 50. And, you've raised your children, you have significant time on your job, very, very settled. Again, the devastating part of getting divorced. So it's like, why try again,
Yeah, yeah.
So
And we get set in our ways. So it's a lot of times we don't want to change.
but we're coming to a happy medium here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes I mean you do, right? I mean, think of all the wisdom and the life and experiences that you've had
Yeah.
up until that time. You know, you may not want to change that.
Right.
But
Well, you've been who you are for a significant time period, and I've been who I am for a
mhm,
significant time period. And the growth throughout our life, it has put us in a space where we know we have to kind of mend and be open minded more so now to
mhm.
make things work.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And there is some growth I think that happens in that process too. I've been definitely awakened to that and surprised by a lot of things that I have had to face, things that I have had to definitely face. Like we'll talk about it later, but one of the things, is my patience. So
Oh, wow.
that has been tested. And I think sometimes certain situations and some people come into your life to help you to work through that. So
Wow. Yeah, we have to address that aspect of your but everything else is
growth.
fine. Everything else is fine.
So the biggest fear of divorce, named by almost 45% of people in this one study, was the prospect of being alone. Right. So I think that in that process of going through a divorce sometimes when we're alone, sometimes we get stuck in that aloneness and not want to really reach out and start to date again. Sometimes we don't reach out even to reconnect with people, because we're in that space as well.
Yeah, we kind of fall in love with alonement. It's kind of like our safety net. I know I had gotten to that point. It was like my safety net. I didn't have to deal with the reality of the aftermath of being divorced and being a, let's say, more seasoned gentleman, So I kind of just isolated myself, if you will.
Yeah. So I think that is one thing that sometimes keeps people maybe stuck in that space that they don't move forward or they don't start to date again. What's another thing you think that kind of helps or stops people from dating again?
Well, like we said, alonement, the complexity of the dating plight or dating atmosphere out here in the open market. Let's face it, a lot of people, I can speak, well, I guess we both can speak to Atlanta. It's kind of so commercialized, and the tone of dating on media sources or whatever is so negative, and things of that nature. So I think to a certain degree that that kind of has people hesitant about
Hmm.
dating, that fear factor, the age factor, etc. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. I think another thing that comes up, especially for, I'm sure for men also, but especially for women, is that fear of being hurt again,
yeah,
right? So you were hurt
definitely.
once, you went and went through a divorce, which is very, very painful. So that fear of having to possibly go through that again, that heartbreak again, just keeps people, I think, from not getting out there, not dating, or not even wanting to maybe try marriage again,
Yeah.
right?
And if I could just add a footnote there, speaking on the behalf of some men, some men, or more so myself, um, it was frightening. It was frightening to just fathom having to date again, or fear the rejection or whatever. So a lot of us don't want to admit to that, and then we mask it, whether it's hanging out at the bars, the drinking, or having several different people involved in our lives or whatever. It's a major risk. But, if we want to be happy, we have to face that,
Yeah,
heal,
yeah,
and kind of move on.
yeah. Yeah, and then, I think the other thing too is that with anything, with any change, there's always this uncertainty factor.
Yeah.
So just not, being certain about what the future holds, or not being certain about who you might meet, who might they end up being, right?
Oh,
After you
yes.
start dating.
Ooh, the real,
Maybe
real,
it's a
real
maybe
person.
it's a whole different person that you
Oh my
end up with,
God.
right? After that, spending all that time getting to know somebody.
Yes, yes.
So a lot of times the uncertainty, I think, just keeps people, from not dating as well.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So why don't we just share a little bit about how we met? Can we do that? Should we do that?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So I was rather a divorced mom of two adult children. Um, I'm also a medical professional, as I alluded to earlier. I'm a physician, and I have been married for 25 years, right? So never fathomed being alone, never fathomed and I'll say perfect, although nothing's really perfect, but never fathomed that perfect, picture of, nice house, picket fence, if you want to call it that, great career, nice cars, going on vacation, all those things, traveling, to being divorced, right? After all that time. And I was really petrified initially of the change, because you can imagine being so comfortable in that environment for so long, and now having to be in an environment where I was alone because my kids were older at the time. So they were going on their separate ways, more of an empty nest situation. So yeah, so I was really petrified of the dating process. What about you, honey?
Yeah, yeah. Myself, I've been in the automobile industry for about 25 years. Um, so you can see the total difference of professions. And that's a fear for a lot of people too. But we kind of worked through that process. Um, I was in my last relationship for about 7 years. So, obviously the alonement, the confusion, and all that stuff settled in. Um, and that dating aspect it just looked really meek, and it was really frightening.
Yeah,
It was really, really, yeah, it was just oof.
yeah. So what motivated you to get back out there again?
Well, to be honest with you, I have a really good friend. I'm from Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. It's my 814 people out there. I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. I've been here for about 32 years. So I had a real close friend of mine who needed to stay with me for a little bit. And after, I guess, a couple of years after my divorce, etc., he saw me going through a process. And he asked me one day, he said, Tony, he said, listen, man, you need to start communicating or dating a little bit there. And he suggested Match.com, online dating. I was being kind of pessimistic about it, and I had my certain feelings about it, but eventually he convinced me. So got on the dating site. It's not something that happens instantly. You have to sift through, the partially committed, go through the representatives and find truly who some people are. But eventually I got a little like one night. And I looked and I saw this real fluorescent, beautiful face, just tranquil and everything. Guys, you can relate to this. I'm like, yeah, I hope this is not a game or a joke. And that's when I met my baby. We
Now
start
you can see how you hooked me in, right? Listen to all that sweet talk. Hmm.
Sausalito, baby, Sausalito. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a similar story. So I was also, just kind of going through it. And a friend of mine also, because she was also dating at the time, or she hadn't met a significant other at the time. And I just asked, I was like, okay, how do you get back out there and start dating again? So same story. She recommended the dating site as well. So I went through maybe, two or three of them. And yeah, I got on Match.com and I saw you, handsome, yes, with the silver beard, all that, yes. And there was just something about, I think your profile that was different than the others, more genuine, very down to earth, wasn't a lot of fluff and, all the things that some people just like to brag and talk about themselves. So it wasn't any of that. So yeah, so I hit the like button
There you go.
and we met.
And the rest is history. Yeah, and if I could just add to that note, one of the things I really paid attention to, so we always want to be mindful if we choose to use online dating as a source to find your someone, right? The pictures, they were clear, they were natural. The tone, the diction, the text. Maybe not everybody looks at this, but I definitely look at that. All of that, all those things were very key and instrumental to me,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those were coming, and then after that, the conversation piece. It was just, I was running into a situation where it was just problematic and very challenging to have conversation with some people. And again, they may have felt that about me as well. But what I did notice about Lisa is that it was just, it was just so genuine and just,
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't have to make a whole bunch of effort. I didn't have to, you know, just trying to pull out words or just, please talk to me. I'd get off the phone and I'd just be like, oh.
Now he did court me, ladies. So don't let him sit here and say that he didn't put in any effort because he did. But I understand what you're saying. The conversation was just very easy. It was
Yeah.
very easy, very natural. I think we connected on a lot of different things about, our even though our professions are different, we still connected a lot in terms of our past and things that we've experienced. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that the conversation was definitely the thing that kind of got us going initially. So people usually often ask, like, what attracted you to him? Right. So, after we started dating for a while and my friends got to know him and my family met him and everything, it was like, okay, so what about this Tony that you're attracted to? So I already mentioned, the pictures on the site were very natural, not doctored up, someone who I could relate to. I love the fact that you courted me. Old school. I mean, none of that fast talk, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, he really did courted me, took it real slow. We went out, a lot. Sometimes we just sat and watched a movie. We didn't have to really go out all the time. But I love that aspect of our dating relationship. Um, And you were also so funny. Like, and laughter for me is like everything, it just lights me up. So always has a joke, always makes me laugh, even when I'm angry or or sad.
That's
He
the best time to
manages
make her laugh, right?
manages to make
Get
me
out the
laugh.
doghouse.
So I have never been angry past or mad past like a day. It doesn't even last the whole 24 hours.
That's a good thing. That's a good
That's the
thing.
good thing. So so those initially I think were the things. Obviously you're very handsome. So
Thank you.
well put together. And then, there was also, he's gonna hate me for saying this, but there was
Uh-oh.
also some criteria that I had. Okay, so we're gonna get so
Fellas, you know what I mean.
there were, but I have to say, ladies, so when we think about this aspect of they have to have this, they have to have that, we can sometimes also weed out the gems if we have too many things that they that are just right criteria. So, I worked with, and I will say this, I worked with a dating coach, and I'm gonna, hopefully get them on the show later. But I did work with a dating coach, and they basically told me, think of 5 things, 5 like non-negotiables, if you will, right? Or 5 things um that you feel are important for you to have, and then go from there. So that really helped a lot because I didn't have this long laundry list anymore of things that I was looking for in a person. Um, so yeah, so there was some criteria, and I'm gonna share that later because I can't give all the tea in the first episode, but there was some criteria.
Yes. Yes.
And then the other thing I think what people don't know about you,
What?
which I found so sexy,
What?
was that he writes poetry.
Oh yeah. Toot toot.
So I got a poem or two, which was so sweet.
You had to earn
Oh yeah,
that.
he's talking junk now. Okay, so now it's your turn. So when people ask you
Yes.
what attracted me to you, what were those things?
Um, like I said, your personality, your aura. You weren't difficult. You weren't super complex. It took me a while to really get to know your true person, but I can say now that, outside of your profession or whatever, you just was a genuine person. And at the end of the day, that's all we brothers are looking for. A lot of gentlemen may not say this, but I'm going to speak to it. We have our criteria as well, also known as romantic market value assessment. There's things that we look for, you know,
Market value. I
when
like
we're out here, you know, dating or whatever.
that.
And I'd
Romantic
like to
market
say that, she's satisfied them all. You know what I mean? Um, um, so yeah, so I mean, your personality, you you dated, you courted me as well. Your conversation piece, your spontaneity, keep it interesting, just spontaneous. I never knew what to expect from her. Um, and the cerebral stimulation. She mentioned that I like to write poetry. That just speaks to that whole, the cerebral stimulation was phenomenal. If it's one of those conversations where everything is out of context, I mean, I'm done. I'm out. I mean, don't get me wrong. We can have those conversations. There's a time and place for that. But that's one of the things that I really, really adored about her. It's the conversation piece. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, honey. So when did you know? Like, when did you know that I was the one or that we were going to be like a couple? We were going to be okay.
You want me to say that on the podcast? I mean, like, really, honey? You put me on the spot like that? I mean, there is a brother code, right, fella? Like, you just want me to just?
Okay, we're going to skip that part.
No, we're not. I just wanted to set it up. But I remember after spending some time with her, you know how we go through this process. You go home, you get everything cleaned up, situated. You kind of rush yourself through that process. You get groomed or what we call ready for ending your evening, retire to the bed or whatever. And I just start recapping that entire day. to the point that I could not go to sleep. And I'm sitting there wrestling for this ideal spot to go to sleep, right? And I'm thinking to myself, Tony, you're grown, can't go to sleep? Like, really? And I'm thinking to myself, I have to go to work. I'm gonna be tired. I'm gonna be out here looking like Ricky Raccoon. And I couldn't go to sleep. I'm thinking about Lisa. Lisa was heavy on the mind. So eventually I just admitted to myself, I said, you know what? I really like this lady. You know, she really makes me feel it in here.
Aw.
So maybe we have something here, right? I know y'all been through it, but you just don't want to say it. But I said it for you. You know, it's no problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So that must have been around the time when we were, remember we were driving the car one time and you said, okay, so we're not going to date any other people.
Yeah.
Just like that. So we're not going to date any other people and it's just you and me. Okay.
I needed to clarify, fellas. You know,
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's how it's going to be.
parameters
You and
on it,
me.
right? Well, I mean, it's safe to say we know when we found that person that we feel compatible with, we feel compelled, we feel compatible, we feel compassionate about. So as long as you feel like you guys are on the same accord, you know, and you've dated, courted, etc., you know, to
Yeah.
build a fortified relationship
Yeah.
or whatever, then hey, it's time to box it on
Time to
in.
box it in.
Box it on in.
And you boxed it
Tell Hank, Harry, Che Bone, you off the market, baby. This is a monogamous
in. This is
relationship,
it.
okay?
This is it.
This is it.
Okay.
Uncut.
So that's a little bit about backstory, but we will definitely be sharing more. And I wanted to just kind of share also how, because we kind of brought everybody to the point where we met, but how did we find the motivation, the strength to kind of get back out there, right? So how do you get back out there
Mm.
after kind of going through that? What do you have to do in order to be ready? Because that's a big thing, being ready, right? What do you have to do in order to be ready to date again? So one of the things definitely, and you had talked a little bit about it in the beginning, is that, you had to, go, speak to someone and, bring people in to help you through that process. And so did I. So I think healing is a big part of getting ready, right, to get out there to date again.
It's a crucial part.
Yeah.
Healing is often overlooked, right? Or devalued or whatever, but it is so crucial because if you're not over what you just come out of, and if you as a person, you know, in terms of self-actualization, haven't allowed yourself the opportunity to heal, then you bring your pre-existing situations, also known as baggage, into a futuristic situation and you sabotage it without even being aware of it. You know, so we don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So we got to heal, get over that, heal ourselves or whatever, so that we can be beneficial to the next relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think also it's important to recognize that dating isn't the solution to healing. Like you have to
No.
heal in order to date again. Not saying you shouldn't date, but dating is not really the medicine
Yeah.
to the healing,
It's not the
right? It's
anecdote.
not the antidote, exactly. So definitely just, take it slow, have fun, don't have any unrealistic expectations, right? About finding the right one because it be the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth one. So just kind of take it slow and go through that healing process again.
Hmm. Start doing things that you like. Take up a hobby. And I started doing this a few years ago, right? You know, I started doing things that I typically don't do, like a little golfing, traveling, right? Um, right? Do you have your passport? Do you
That was a
have this,
criteria.
that?
No, just
We
kidding.
started traveling. I started golfing. I started reading, right? I mean, throughout college, I was always apprehensive about reading, you know? She encouraged me to start reading. And, you know, you just start becoming a better person, a better you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because it's definitely I think about, you know, working on yourself and developing yourself.
Excuse me. Somebody didn't turn off their phone.
So it's definitely about developing yourself and also building up your identity outside of who you were with before and also who you were before. So again, taking up those, new things, those different things, different hobbies. I also traveled a lot, also took up golf, and just started doing things that I probably wouldn't have done, before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what are some other things?
Flirting. I always flirt, right? I think that keeps it fresh. That keeps the relationship hot. It doesn't allow, it kind of negates the possibility of it getting stale or getting boring or getting methodical. Flowers, send roses to the office. It sounds so typical, so commonplace. But oftentimes when we get in a relationship, right, you get used to that person, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So,
So it is. It's important to flirt again, and we may have to learn how to do that again, because if you are, like we were in our mid, and see, this is
mhm.
what I'm talking
So
about.
good.
In our mid 50s,
Hey.
you may we may have forgotten how to flirt. So we need to learn to do
Yeah,
that again.
yeah, yeah. That's
Right?
very important.
Yeah.
Listening. That's a big one for me. I really had to grow to a space where I start listening more because I'm used to being the dominant person or whatever. But when you find a dominant woman, she's not gonna go for it. So you're gonna have to learn to listen, right?
Yes. Listening is also very important. Yeah. So those are just some of the things I think that may be helpful is in terms of, getting back out there. There's some other things as well, but definitely
Mm-hmm.
those are some things I think to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this has been a great conversation.
It has. It
Our
has.
first episode. I think that
Yes.
we covered a lot.
Yes.
So we just want to end the episode with a magical moment. So let me tell you how we came upon this as a title for the end of the show. So Tony is always big on creating these special moments, whatever they are. If it's a date or if it's a travel moment or something, and he just coined it magical moments.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? That would be great for us to bring that concept into our podcast and talk about that at the end as a way to just share some moments or something that can teach us something, right? Um, so the magical moment that I want to just discuss today is what magical moment changed your perspective about dating?
Mm. I believe that was the time where you invited me out on a date. So I'm at my job working feverishly, looking forward to this day. I go home and get situated, meet up with you, and we go to this jazz club, right? Um, we were when we were seated, I just felt like this commonality there. All the energy and everything was just working to our benefit. We ended up holding hands. I'm not a big, hold your hand type person. We ended up holding hands under the table. I allowed you to aggress be the aggressor as far as the day was concerned. It was just gorgeous. It was just a gorgeous evening. I really couldn't put my finger on it. It was just a beautiful evening. It was just kind of like all the energy in the world was causing us to be on the same accord at the same time and definitely at the same temperature. And
Mm,
I loved it. I was done. Stick a fork in it. I'm done. I'm in. I'm done. That was my magic moment. You remember
yes,
that? You took me
I
there?
do. I do. And that probably was the best date that we've had. That I
Yeah,
remember. It
was
definitely because everything was aligned that day. I felt like sparks were flying.
yeah. The stars was
All
aligned.
things, yeah, all things were kind of working, I think, together that
Mhm.
day. So, um, I would agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that definitely was a good magical moment. So the thing that I learned, the teaching moment for me from that magical moment, is that ladies, it's okay to take the lead. It's okay to take your
Amen.
guy on a date. It's okay to treat them. Yeah, it's okay to do that. So that's what I learned, and I learned how appreciative you were for that moment.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect it to that magnitude. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was so uncharacteristic. It was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And
So,
I do like taking you out on
oh
dates. So
yes, I
I'll
love
continue
it.
to do that.
What winery the other day? We don't do
So this has been a great first episode. We're really excited about this podcast, and we have so much more to share with you.
yes,
So our next episode will be on something that we touched earlier today, which is around the healing aspect. So it will be on what we call baggage check. How do you check your baggage at the
baggage
door?
check, baggage
Hmm.
check. Remember, guys, that we don't claim to be therapists or you know uh, counselors or whatever. But we're people that just experience life just the way you do. We are in that sweet spot of our life cycle, in our mid to latter 50s or whatever. And we just think that some of our experiences could benefit you guys, right? We like to coin our podcast as saying yes again, right? So for anybody out there that's teetering, that's apprehensive, just wondering if there's a perfect person out there for them, I don't believe anybody's perfect, but there's somebody out there just for
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
right? Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely.
Found mine right around the corner. What, 5 minutes
I know
away?
that was the other crazy thing. How we were so close. We lived like really close to each other.
I couldn't believe it.
So again, the stars were aligned.
Yes.
Hmm. So thank you guys for joining us for our very first episode of the Saying Yes Again podcast. And we'll be back again next week with some more content. And also, we're going to share with you on social media a link where you can send us your questions or send us your ideas that you maybe want us to talk about on the podcast. But we definitely want to build this as a community. So we want to build this as, people who can also resonate with our story, who may be or have been maybe in the same situations that we were in, so that we can build a community around what it looks like to build healthy relationships.
Yes. And in closing, as a part of Lisa and I growing our online presence, we encourage you guys very strongly to subscribe to our podcast. We will, like you said, we will be having future episodes and bringing people online with us as well. And also tell a friend, tell another friend, and then tell some more friends so that we can grow our online presence and, encourage people to heal or say yes again. Okay.
Yeah. So follow us on all social media at Saying Yes Again. And we'll see you soon. Take
Yes.
care.
All right.